Hello, welcome. This is the Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason. This is my co-host Jay, the voice of rage. Thank you for taking the time to tune in and listen tonight. We have a big episode talking about this fantastic, I believe, I'm starting to think, Jay, fantastic Buckeye football team. It's already starting to get some guns pointed its way. Good. Bring it. I think ESPN is aligning itself against the Buckeyes. I saw that move taking place this weekend. ESPN propaganda, anti-Ohio State starting to form over there, pro-Miami. Miami's the best team in the country. That's the narrative that's being pushed on game day, at least by some. And so all kinds to talk about, Jay. Big win against Minnesota. Before we get into that, if you would, please like and subscribe. I know that many more of you are watching than have actually hit that subscribe button. So please hit that subscribe button and go ahead and hit the bell so that you know every single time we are going live. And we've got our Facebook page advertised there in the chat. I'm going to get up here momentarily the message board, the Scarlet and Rage message board. I'm telling you, you want to check that out. There is so many different topics being covered on that message board. This is unlike any other message board, Jay. What other message board is talking Ohio State football, politics, and discussing theology and religion? I mean, what other place do you find all these various diverse conversations that are taking place, and they're all in their appropriate spot? You just got to go to the board and see. We got a politics, we got a general. You can post whatever you want. We've got professional sports, we've got college sports, and so all of that is there. And we're going to put that up here in just a moment. But if you have not checked that out, please do. We welcome you to come and join the conversation. Jay, this Buckeye team is starting to look pretty exciting to me. And I'm liking what I see out of Ryan Day. It's not been perfect. I'm not going to say it's perfect, okay? But it is starting to look pretty darn good.
Definitely not perfect. And Michael, you and I are usually on the opposite sides of the fence here. But
you're not pleased with the team, or you agree with me this time?
I have some second thoughts, as always. I swear I spend every college football Saturday in like college football, in my opinion, is like the greatest sport, but I watch it with just major anxiety all day. Like I put myself in a bad mood watching these other teams, and I'm like, oh my God. We're going to lose to this team. We're going to lose to that team. Oh, why can Florida run the ball on Texas and Ohio State can't? Why are we like not shutting down Washington and getting them as much pressure as Maryland? You know, those were things going in my head, and it just kind of like made me stir for a while. But, be that as it may, yes, I'm starting to go to your side of the fence, Michael. I am very excited about this team. There's still a lot they need to show me, because as it turns out, our schedule is not as strong as we initially thought, but that's okay. You can only play the teams in front of you and look, how you can in those games. But, there is so much to discuss tonight, Michael. I feel like we should just get right into it. And, one thing. And, you remember how I had massive complaints for the Peacock broadcast of the game a few weeks ago. I don't really have complaints about this broadcast as much. Todd Blackledge, he is a Big Ten flag bearer. He's like a Big Ten, he's at the front lines of a battle for the Big Ten, But in this case, I feel like he's either getting older or he is, just not doing the research because, for instance, during this game, I don't know if you happen to notice, he called Alex Styles. He called him Lorenzo Styles. He's like, oh, number 0, Lorenzo Styles blowing up the play at the point of attack.
I did and not I'm like, notice okay, that.
Yeah, I noticed. Yeah. I picked up on it. I was like, wait a minute. What? Hold on. I was like, and I looked and I had to rewind and I was like, he's talking about Alex Styles. And then
Yeah.
like he's calling Kenyatta Jackson like Kenyatta Carter. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, is he
Yeah.
getting it mixed up for Abdul Carter? Like,
Yeah.
who is he mixing this up right now? But again, I love Todd Blackledge. I have no complaints on him. He is a Big Ten guy. I feel like he was one of the few guys really carrying that Big Ten torch back when we were just getting pummeled by the SEC like over 10 years ago.
He didn't bow the knee like everybody, like so
no,
many
no. He was on ESPN doing the best he could.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I remember that Sugar Bowl.
I respect him because of that, because he never did bow the knee to all the SEC propaganda. He always stood and fought for the Big Ten, because as good as the SEC has been, for that stretch of years, there was also crazy ESPN propaganda, and that's, it's just the way they did it. The two joined forces, and it's them against us.
It really is, man. And, man, I feel like we're going like, sidebar here, but it's good that the Big Ten just completely got out of ESPN. Like none of our games are shown on ESPN anymore. Now, I feel like that gives us more power because we're distributed between NBC, CBS, Big Ten Network. I guess Peacock. But that's part of NBC, so it's the same thing. But again, we have like a massive.
The Big Ten is everywhere.
It is.
The Big Ten is everywhere, and the SEC is pinch-holed to ABC, ESPN. That's it.
Yeah, correct. But yeah, Todd Blackledge is a Canton guy, Big Ten guy. He went to Penn State, even though Penn State didn't play in the Big Ten when he was there. But yeah, man. But Michael, you seem so optimistic about this team. So we might as well just start with, your take on the game, everything you saw, because, you're super excited. I would assume you think we're the best team in the country, right? Best team in the country.
Well, this is what I think. I think that we look as good as anybody. Is there a couple of other teams that, could run their mouth and say, hey, we think we're as good as us? Sure, that's fine. I mean, and that's, Ohio State's not so tested that you can definitively say they're the best team in the country. But I will say that they are one of the top 3 teams in the country. Since they are the defending national champion, until somebody proves otherwise, they deserve the benefit of the doubt, because that's the benefit of the doubt Georgia would get. It would be the benefit of the doubt that Alabama would get. And so there's no reason that it shouldn't be the benefit that Ohio State would get, because Ohio State has had more success in the modern era of college football than Georgia, and that's not up for debate. And so for us to not get that respect, I don't think, I just think they deserve it. So, yeah, I do believe we are the deserved number 1 team in the country, but I wanted to give it that caveat.
The 2002 team is so near and dear to my heart. I was actually going through some old stuff the other day, Michael. And I found a preseason college football magazine from 2002, which is the year we won the national championship in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yes.
So I decided to, get that out of my little storage chest and display it in my little collectible basement there of Ohio State stuff. And I have it kind of sitting there, turned to Ohio State's page, and it even said in there this defense is loaded. If it can find something on offense, they could win the Big Ten. But not only did they win the Big Ten, we won the national championship. And man, oh man, 15-year-old Jay back then, I feel like I didn't know any better in regards to football and stuff. 37-year-old Jay, I probably would be killing myself watching that team every freaking week. I don't know if I would survive either from my own, hanging myself, or from just pure heart attacks every week, man. It's just, that was such a different grind back then.
But Jay, do you know what part of it was? Part of it was also our expectation. I mean, we have been coming off of some years where Cooper had really gone downhill. And then Tressel, that first year, is 8-5, I think, and does beat the Michigan team and fulfill that promise that he made, which that was a huge boost to the program. But, 8-5, like, I wasn't expecting. I was hoping, maybe to win 10 games or something. And so they went undefeated and really was a unbelievable season. But yeah, I think expectations had a lot to do with it. But even at that, I remember sitting there watching that Purdue game, and I was like kind of relatively calm. Like, I don't know how I was. Again, I think it's just because you're young and you just react differently to things.
Yeah.
But I was just relatively calm. And then it was like, oh my gosh, they 4th and 1 and he throws a bomb. I couldn't believe it. But that was, even things like that, so uncharacteristic of Tressel's conservative nature. He goes for a bomb, 4th and 1 with the game on the line, and it connects. So yeah,
they go for the ball game. Touchdown, touchdown, Michael Jenkins on 4th and 1. Do you believe it? Craig Krenzel strikes with 1.5 minutes left. Holy Buckeye. I remember that play like the back of my hand. But, I just find it interesting. You look through that season, and one of our more dominant wins on the year was Minnesota at home. And now Minnesota back then was better than they are now.
They were,
But I will say this. That game was a battle till about midway through the third quarter, where we kind of had Minnesota put away midway through the third quarter in this game. It's just amazing how the times have changed, and we're freaking out now in the year 2025. It's like, why are we not scoring on the first drive of the game and stuff? And back then it was like, okay, just win the game however you can. And everyone was cool with it back then. We didn't complain. Or at least I don't think so.
No, there wasn't much. I mean, you go out against a Minnesota team, 8-4 Minnesota team, and you beat them 21-18, and like everybody's just like, whoo, yeah, got the win. And moving on. Nobody's analyzing everything or saying how they should have been 27-18, and because it's not 27-18, they're not really a top legitimate team. No, there wasn't any of that. And that was a different era of college football, but it still is, what I consider to be the modern era from 1998 until today.
Starting with the BCS, it's interesting the BCS introduced the modern era of football, right? I always consider like the 21st century, anything from like 2000, 2001 on.
Still a shame we didn't win that 98 inaugural BCS, so that we would have had the inaugural everything, the inaugural BCS, the inaugural 4 team, and the inaugural 8 team. And that team was good enough to do it that year. But Jay, let's talk about this team. What do where do you want to start?
I'll start off with, I want to make a comment here.
Yeah.
And this is cynical, Jay, kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is truthful, Jay. I truly believe, Michael.
Yeah.
I don't know that I take much from this game. You and I both pretty much nailed this score last week. Minnesota just sucks. It's so kind of weird that Ohio State Nation is sucking off like PJ Fleck, like he's some good coach. And what is going on? I think Michael's having technical issues.
All right, we're back.
What happened, man?
It was a deal with the mute button, and so I had to readjust everything.
I see. I would just say, man, Minnesota sucks. Ohio State Nation is sucking off PJ Fleck. I don't know why, but I actually think they kind of needed to move on from Fleck. I'm sure that Minnesota misses the Glenn Mason days. All PJ Fleck does, and Michael, I've looked a little closer. Again, the guy is a well-spoken dude. I think he knows football, but I don't think he's a particularly good coach. All this guy does is lose their top non-conference games each season. And again, I don't really care. The bowl games matter. I'm glad he wins the bowl games, but you're kind of losing your season when you're losing your non-conference games. You just can't. Again, like people are trying to say he's a good coach, and I just don't believe that. I don't think he's a very good coach at all. You can't lose your talented games against North Carolina. You can't fucking lose to North Carolina back-to-back seasons. You cannot go out west and get beat decisively by a shitty Cal team, who, by the way, got blown out by Duke last night. Minnesota really sucks. They deserve better. The Big Ten deserves better. PJ Fleck is not a Big Ten caliber coach. He is not the future Ohio State coach. I don't know where people got that from. He is not good enough to coach at Ohio State. He's not good enough to coach even at the bigger Big Ten teams. But I will say this, to his credit, he does seem to still respect Ohio State. He was on our 2006, 2007 coaching staff. And I do find it interesting that they quoted him, I guess, before the game. He referenced the 2007 national championship game against Florida, how Ted Ginn returned the opening kickoff. And he is still kind of pretty upset about that, as a coach, like dealing with that game, which was good to hear. It's good that he seems to still love Ohio State some. He's still sad about that game. We're still sad about that game. He earned some bonus points from me. We're all still sad about that game. So that game is still kind of in the back of my mind, and it's a nightmare. And I'm not trying to create a sidebar conversation from that, but he just earned some bonus.
2006 national championship.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was horrific. Yeah. He
even said Ted Ginn returned the opening kickoff. We were feeling good. He got hurt. And then I do remember that 4th and 1. He referenced some 4th and 1. They were down 14-7 and they're 21-7. And I guess Tressel even told the team, he's like, hey, if we don't get this 4th and 1, we're going to lose. And they didn't get it and they lost.
I didn't sleep well that night, Jay. It was like a nightmare. I kept having a reoccurring nightmare the entire night. That was a bad night. But Jay, I actually agree with you that PJ Fleck is not the guy at Minnesota, because he is no longer aspiring to push that program, and that's clear. He basically was just like, yeah, well, they're just better than us, and really nothing we could do. Wasn't that we played bad. We played pretty much as good as we could, and that's all we had. And that's not where Minnesota was under Glenn Mason. I know that things have changed, but there's no reason why a Minnesota can't be more dangerous than what they are now. Minnesota, believe it or not, I believe has a lot to offer. I know it's Minnesota. I know it's really cold, but hey, they've got cool uniforms. They've got a nice stadium. They're in a metropolitan area. It's a major university. There's some very nice areas right around that university there. They have a lot to sell. It's cold. Yes, that sucks, but they can get athletes there. I believe they can. Glenn Mason got athletes there. And Minnesota deserves better than this benign team that they have become under PJ Fleck. It's not that they don't have any talent; they just don't.
Where is their NFL talent? I mean, you look at their roster. Does any one of their players strike you as an NFL player?
I don't know. I mean, Minnesota's one of those teams that certainly puts guys in the NFL, but on any given year, it could be 3 or 4, or or maybe 1. Or sometimes maybe a bit more than that. But, I don't know. I mean, that roster looked – all I know is that Ohio State's roster was much better.
Oh, my God, not even close. Minnesota's playing some white corners. If you're playing white corners, you're in fucking trouble.
Unless you're Iowa and you've been able to, pull these white guys that run 4 threes. But that's – I don't know until we start seeing
what has
more.
Iowa even won, though? Iowa is not much better. It's not like they won a BCS game.
No, they haven't. They just had 2 first-round and 1 second-round corners. So
Riley Moss and what the hell is the other guy's name? Right. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. But, I think, when you think of Glenn Mason, who's probably the best head coach in, Minnesota history. Well, I guess, Minnesota actually has a storied football program, but, thinking of the modern era, Glenn Mason is the best. And, they had Lawrence Maroney and Marion Barber, sharing carries on those teams back in the day. 2 NFL Pro Bowlers.
Right. Jay, a little more Big Ten talk here before we launch into the game. Luke Fickell's looking like a bust at Wisconsin. Yeah, he is.
He's not a bust to me. I don't think he's a bust. He's exactly what I thought he was going to be.
Okay, and you know what? I thought that he was a little better than that. I wasn't sold on Luke Fickell at all. I did not want him at Ohio State by any shape or form, but I thought he could go to Wisconsin.
He's a bust for the people that actually, number one, don't know what they're looking at, and 2, don't look deeply enough. I knew from day one that was a terrible hire. I'm like, he's going to fail so bad. That was a miserable hire, and none of it's a surprise to me. Fickell sucks. He's terrible. I've said that for a while. That was an awful hire by Wisconsin. Shame on them for not doing their research and hiring him, but they got desperate, and desperate teams like they fuck up a lot, kind of like Penn State hiring Jim Knowles.
Yeah,
we'll talk about Penn State later, man.
Yeah, I mean the bottom line is Fickell beat Indiana one year, and he did they beat Notre Dame that year as well? I think they beat Indiana and Notre Dame.
Yeah, the year they made it to the college football playoff.
Yeah. So they beat Indiana, Notre Dame, and then a bunch of teams that were nowhere close to, good teams. And then they went and got beat very easily by Alabama. So, I mean, that was his calling card. And while that is good, you certainly want to see more than that, to believe that a guy is really a legitimately good coach. And there really wasn't more than that. And that's kind of what Wisconsin was going on.
Well, I swear, all you need to do is just watch their game plan against Alabama, and it was the worst game plan Cincinnati could have ever came up with. And I'm like, that's Fickell for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, he had some games the previous year and big games against Memphis, and they were not particularly up to par, ready to go. And then they just completely did not scheme Alabama well at all. Like they did the opposite of what I would have done.
James W. says that white safety for the Gophers is real good.
Coy Parrish, yeah, he's good. Yeah, no, he's absolutely good. He would not start at Ohio State, but he is really good. I don't think he would start over Jalen McClain. Yeah, he's really good, though, but I don't think he would start at Ohio State. He would play. He would rotate in. He wouldn't redshirt like Malik Hartford is. He would be playing. But, Michael, let's start with your Scarlet voice of reason view of Ohio State and this game. Why don't I'm just going to leave the floor to you. Tell me your thoughts on this. Tell me about, honestly, I will say the brilliance of Matt Patricia, and I'm not going to mix my words. Matt Patricia has been brilliant. I didn't know what to expect when we got him. I wasn't saying he was a good hire. I wasn't saying he was a bad hire. I was saying he was unknown, which kind of is like, you shouldn't be hiring unknowns at Ohio State, but this has turned out to be not only in a home run, so far it's been a grand slam. Now, Michael, I'll leave the floor to you. Talk about what you're seeing on offense, defense, just your collective thoughts in this game and just overall.
Yeah. So my overall thoughts on the game were the defense once again was fantastic. Iowa came out. They took a page out of kind of what they saw with Washington. They said, hey, we're going to attack the soft spots of this zone. We're just going to work our way down the field. We're not going to go for anything big. We're just going to take what they give us. And they moved down the field, kicked a field goal. Then from then on out, Patricia started mixing it up. He certainly did go back to the zone at times, but he was also mixing in a fair amount of man-to-man and at times maybe some type of a matching where they're passing guys off, once they reach another level, which is kind of a form of man-to-man, a form of zone, kind of a hybrid. And so, from that point forward, they shut them down. And, I can't say enough good things about Matt Patricia. Continue to love what I see out of him. The defensive line rage, I'm impressed with the defensive line. And I thought the defensive line was going to be a real weak spot. And I think the defensive line is actually pretty good. I'm seeing a lot of guys get in there and contribute. Malone, of course, McDonald. Houston was getting some penetration at times the other night, starting to look a little better. You've got Jackson. You've got, Atkinson. You've got Curry. You've got the new freshman from Alabama who was getting some significant time over there on the edge. Just a lot of
Grady.
Yeah, Zion Grady. Just a lot of bodies in there. And I'm starting to become pretty impressed with the defensive line. Do I think they're the best defensive line in the country? No, I wouldn't say that. But I think that they are starting to answer some of my concerns that I do think they can get it done. I think they're a good to very good defensive line. And, the linebackers and secondary is just fantastic. It is maybe some of the best linebackers. And I think part of it is that they're very well coached. You can tell they know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they are doing. They're communicating. They know what they're doing. They know what their assignments are, and they are executing at a very high level. And so it is fantastic to see the defense playing that way. On offense, Jay, I continue to have a little bit of reservation with Brian Hartline's play calls at times. He likes to get like basic and run on first and second down, it seems like at times, and all of a sudden you're at like 3rd and 6 or 7. He seems to kind of like to let off the pedal and either goes kind of real conservative or he really attacks. We don't see a whole lot of balance at times with it, but I do think he's at least figuring out what he has to do with this offense. And I'll just trust that him and Ryan Day figure it out a little bit more as time goes. And as you said, the schedule's not unbelievably hard. So, they've got some time to get things really dialed in before major tests. And so this Buckeye team to me is looking great heading down the stretch against an Illinois team this coming week, which is going to be a challenge. They will put up a challenge. Now, I think that Ohio State could easily beat this Illinois team by 3 touchdowns, 3-4 touchdowns. I really do. I think if things went the wrong way, I think Ohio State could beat them by 5 touchdowns. But if Illinois kind of is able to get their game going a little bit early on, yeah, it could be a relatively close game. And then you've got Penn State, and then you've got Michigan down there at the end. So yeah, I think we're looking really good heading into the schedule. Julian Sayin, they're starting to put more on his shoulders. He did take shots down the field this time. Sayin, looked pretty good. He made a very nice throw, took a shot, showing some toughness. It was coming. He steps into it, takes a shot, throws a strike down to Max Clare. Beautiful. You could tell it didn't feel good, but he got up, so it's good. It got up and got back in there and, didn't skip a beat. So it's good to see that he has some toughness in him, that he has some willingness, to step up in the pocket and compete. And he's continuing to show fantastic accuracy. Very accurate thrower of the football, Julian Sayin. And Max Clare really starting to find a role for him.
Your favorite player, Max Clare.
Yep. They are designing sets for him, 2 tight end sets, and even at times kind of flexing him out almost as a slot. I like it. I like it. Ennis, isn't really doing much out of the slot. Put his big body in the slot and see what defensive backs can stop him. Because if they're going to double cover Smith, great. Send his big 6'5" body down there. And let one of those DBs see if they can go get it on him.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely excited about the defense. I've never seen a defense outside of really 2002, and I don't even think I put 2016 in this category of just they don't have receivers really running free. They don't miss tackles, and they just every single person on the field is accounted for all the time. And if there is something that is working against them, it changes because Minnesota converted like 2 or 3 third downs that first drive. I was wondering about Drake Lindsay. He's 6'4", 6'5". It's like our defense has been like the prototypical defense to stop spread offenses and mobile quarterbacks, but we haven't really faced a true pro-style quarterback. And, he's kind of a different cat in the fact that like he's just going to stand there and throw over the top where we don't really use our speed as much. It's more like you just got to get pressure on them and get them off schedule. Well, they went down the field, got a field goal. The rest of the game after that drive, Michael, they did not convert a third down, which is just it's spectacular. I don't know what you can say. They did not convert another third down after that first drive. Not one.
Jay, are the Ohio State Buckeyes becoming the New England Patriots? I mean, think about it.
Man, dude, let's slow down.
No. I'm not saying like dynasty wise, like we're going to win 6 national championships. I'm saying in the way that it's being approached. Clearly, there's a Patriots influence on defense, and we're starting to see things that the Patriots did on offense with the 2 tight end sets. A tight end kind of, in the slot. Rob Gronkowski was a lot. They had 2 tight ends, Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski at one time did a lot of 2 tight end sets there for many years. And so I don't know, maybe it's just a coincidence, but maybe that's a little Matt Patricia influence as well with the way that they were able to exploit defenses with Rob Gronkowski splitting through the middle and opening things up for other receivers, being that big body to have to cover. And so Max Clare looked really good in that role the other night, and I hope they continue to explore that.
You know, everyone keeps – I've heard you reference the New England Patriots thing a lot, and I don't know how that team was built, man. Like, Bill Belichick has been a disaster at North Carolina. He's been a disaster post Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I have a hard time believing that Tom Brady was really like coaching that team like that. But then who was calling their, was Matt Patricia really the innovator of those defenses? Because it looks like he actually might be. Everyone gave it to Bill Belichick, but as time goes on, I'm not so sure. I mean, like, when was Matt Patricia their defensive coordinator? What years?
Maybe 2006 to 2010. I don't know. I'd have to go back.
Yeah.
I'll pull that up and see.
I'm kind of curious because it's like
he was there so many years. It's hard to pinpoint exactly which ones he was the DC.
Yeah, and he just seems like a cool dude, man. Honestly, a player's coach, they love him. You see him hugging them on the sideline.
Yeah.
He's a personable guy, not a fucking weirdo old man like Jim Knowles. I hated Jim Knowles from day one. So it's like, okay, so he had been in the Patriots organization since 2004, offensive line coach, LB coach, safeties coach. And then he was the DC for, 2 of their Super Bowl wins. So I see that.
2012 to 2017 is when he was the Patriots DC. He was the linebackers or safeties coach from 2006 to 2012. So he was there with Bill for 9 years. And he was also an assistant offensive line coach for the Patriots in 2004 and 2005. And then he was again a New England Patriots senior defensive advisor in 2021. And same thing in 2022. And he even has done some offensive consultant work for teams in the NFL as well. And he actually was the offensive coordinator for the Patriots very briefly. I believe it was Mac Jones's last year. So he has had a lot of roles.
The guy has got a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
he is literally like his credentials are like similar to like Chip Kelly's in a way. Maybe not as extensive, but it's like, man, oh man. Yeah, it's like you take Chip Kelly away on offense, you insert Matt Patricia on defense. So I don't know, man, he's just been a godsend. The big thing you worry about here is if we have a lot of success continuing on the season, is he going to leave after year one?
Look, he could. But I think that you got to do everything you can. He's a guy you give. Will he sign a 2-year, $7 million deal? Well, that's the kind of guy you give it to, not Jim Knowles.
Yeah.
Jim Knowles is showing that he was the mediocre defensive coordinator that you and I thought he was, or maybe you might even think he's worse than that. But I always thought he was like above average, like slightly above average. I didn't think he was anything great. And I think that he's showing that it's showing that he wasn't quite what we thought he was. He had really good talent a lot of the time he was there, and he lost all the big games and couldn't get defenses off the field until the final 4 games of his tenure there at Ohio State. So, So as we said early on, I think it's continuing to show big upgrade, Matt Patricia over Jim Knowles. Good riddance, Jim.
Absolutely, man. Just, fuck Jim Knowles. He sucked. A couple things, I wrote down some stream of consciousness notes. The defensive line, especially on the first drive, still doesn't get a lot of pressure minus the blitz. Now, I will say that was corrected on later in the game. They started getting more pressure there. That was good. The decision-making by Ryan Day in this game, especially not that the game was ever really like that Minnesota was in the game, but this was at the beginning of the game where like Minnesota is winning. Like, what is up with the field goal attempt to start the game? 53-yard attempt with a subpar kicker. Like, Ryan Day was overthinking the offense, too much there. Another thing, they literally convert a 4th and 1, like under center with Julian saying, but then like Ryan Day actually calls a timeout right before the play is snapped. And then they insert Kienholz. and they don't get it. Now, I want to also say, like, Keinholz, he is not a good enough runner, in my opinion, to run direct run plays with when everyone in the stadium knows where it's going. He has got good mobility for a traditional QB, but let's not pretend like he's a running back out there. And then, the play calling, especially like for a while there, Michael, throw the ball down the fucking field. Keep throwing the fucking ball to set up the run. We are not a power run team. We really struggled to run the ball, and we still tried to keep forcing it. Honestly, in my opinion, man, go air raid, throw 80% of the time. You said it yourself. One of the guys who I believe should be getting the ball more is Max Clare. Hopefully he can become, that third option we're looking for, because, he has been solid so far. But, when you look at him playing at Ohio State versus his days at Purdue, he's not what he was advertised coming in. I think he's solid, but we're not using him the same way Purdue is. He just seemed faster and at Purdue, and, was getting better in better spots. And then, another thing I want to complain about, James Peoples continues to play, he continues to suck. He was going the wrong way on plays and throwing off the offense as well. He started to run well after the game was well in hand and Minnesota was ready to go home.
And you know what? I actually saw something that looked pretty good that I'd not seen at all this year. But, again, it was in garbage time.
The late in the fourth quarter, and I don't put stock in that, man. I really don't. Minnesota.
No, I'm not putting stock in it. Like, you got to see, it's got to start to happen. If he has that, we got to start to see it in prime time, meaning in the first half. If you get 4 carries
when the game is not out of hand and the game is like, it's like, not saying the other team could win, but it's like Ohio State's building towards putting a team away. It can't be the team is put away. They're ready to go back to Minneapolis. PJ Fleck has already written his post-game speech like, oh, it's like pick your poison with them. We couldn't stop them. When he was right, I don't disagree with anything he said, but doesn't mean he's a good coach and he's good for Minnesota. I actually don't think either one of them are true.
Right. I agree. I'm with you on that.
I see you pulled up a comment there by Slip and Skippy.
Yes, Slip and Skippy. In the chat, who would you rather lose? Would you rather lose Hartline or Patricia? I know my answer, and I'm going to put it in the chat right now.
Okay. Can you say it out loud? Or do you want to put it in the chat first?
The chat too. Hartline. I choose Patricia over Hartline. Absolutely. I choose Matt Patricia over Hartline.
You would rather lose Matt Patricia?
No, I would rather lose Hartline.
Oh, okay. You'd rather lose. Okay, I was confused. Okay, yeah, I agree. I would rather lose Hartline. It's not even close. Not up for debate.
Right? Yeah. It's not close at all.
Not even fucking.
If it was Matt Patricia's going to stay here 3 more years, and then he's going to go off to the NFL, or Brian Hartline's going to stay here 3 more years, and then he's going to go be a head coach. Give me Matt Patricia for those 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, man. Another thing I wanted to point out, punting and kicking just both continue to suck. Even when our punter isn't rushed, he's still awful. Like, I know, I think we had 1 or 2 punts in the game, but he had time to step into it. And it was he just sucks, dude. Why are we not playing that fucking 6'6" thoroughbred ox on the sideline who can supposedly boom it 80 yards? What have you got to lose? Now, again, if you're punting the ball in your Ohio State, it's usually why the fuck are we punting? But if we have to punt, you might want to put the guy with your biggest leg in there. And then something, your boy Tegra Shabola, man.
Yeah.
Something needs to be done at right guard because that's a weak spot of the offensive line. And I think it's time to put Ethan Onionwa in there, and take our chances. I found it interesting, though, that when Philip Daniels had to leave the game, our right tackle, because he lost his helmet, it wasn't Ethan Onionwa who went in. It was Josh Padilla. That tells me that Ethan Onionwa isn't even a thought anymore at tackle, which is kind of disappointing considering we spent a lot of money for him at a premium position. And wow, what a fucking disappointment. I mean, but I still think you stick him at right guard because like we had some really good runs when he was in there again against, garbage time, but they were running behind him on that right side for some big gains. And he needs to start there at right guard and take over for Shabola.
Maybe he'll get an opportunity. I mean, maybe he'll get a chance. I mean, they were giving him a chance out there during garbage time, and he was making the most of it. So maybe he will get another chance to see if he can do it with the first team line. I know that this coaching staff is very bullish on the line. They think that they have a lot of guys who can play. They really do. They think they have a lot of guys that are capable of playing.
We definitely have some depth.
Yeah. And I agree. I think we do have a lot of guys capable of playing. Maybe we have one or two of the best offensive line isn't even out there yet. You never know. You never know how the season can shake out. But we do have a lot of guys who can play. The backup offensive line was impressive because in years past, when the backups went in, we didn't score much at all usually because all we did is run and, we'd just be out, and so this offensive line was bulldozing Minnesota. This is the backup line. And so that was impressive to me. And so I am optimistic on the offense. I am not as high on it as I am the defense, but I do believe that they're figuring things out. And I love what this offense has. Julian Sayin, Jeremiah
the pieces
Smith.
I love. No, for sure. I definitely love it. There's definitely some weaknesses running the ball though.
Max Clare. Yes. Running the ball has to be, I would like to see that be a little bit stronger, but we can pass the ball. I mean, we can pass the ball to set up the run.
But we have to commit to throwing the ball though. They don't. And that's what pisses me off. I'm not trying to be in a bad mood.
I know. Well,
good mood.
You have seen him turning Jeremiah Smith into an extension of the run game. And so you're noticing like he's having 9 catches for 83 yards and like stats like that, because they are using him as an extension of the run game to kind of get some of those things going. So I like that. I hope they continue to do that, but I want to see Smith get down the field. Tate got to get down the field. And that was great. Tate's a very good player. Some games it's going to be his game, but I'm waiting for Jeremiah Smith to have that breakout game this year where he's like 8 catches for 162 yards or something like that. I think it's coming, but it has, he hasn't been able to grasp it quite yet at this point, Jay.
I got you, man. I got you. Are you wanting to address that comment right there?
Yes. I want you to address it because you have strong feelings on the running backs, stronger than I do.
Well, I can't say I have strong feelings about Isaiah West. He hasn't played enough. He only plays in garbage time. Yeah, he looks good in garbage time, but so did Sam Williams-Dixon, and Sam Williams-Dixon no longer plays. I think Sam Williams-Dixon, speaking of him, I think he made a mistake to come back to Ohio State. I thought he should have transferred. I think he was going to go to Kentucky, but he just didn't end up going. So I can't say that Isaiah West is worse than James Peoples. What I am saying is James Peoples shouldn't be getting any carries. We had a literally 1-2 combo last year with Travion and Judkins, and really nobody else carried the ball. Why are we just not doing the same this year with Bo Jackson and CJ Donaldson is my thing. Those are the only two that should get the carries. But if you really want to save them, you should be throwing the ball 75 to 80% of the time and then getting it to Max Clare and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Mylan Graham. And if you get it to all of those guys, then you're preserving your running backs even better because, again, we are a passing team. We are not a running team. We could not really run the ball on Minnesota until the game was in hand. And yeah, just abandon the run. I feel like they need to go like Pete Carroll back in the day was he at USC. If he couldn't run the ball, he said, fuck it. And he just lit people up in the air with Matt Leinart and
Jay.
John David Booty.
Can you hear me?
Can you do me a favor and pull up Caroline's comment? I want to address that real quick. Spend like 2 minutes on that, if you could. The Superman comment.
I can't hear you, Jay. So let me go mute and you carry on to the next topic. I'm gonna try and fix this.
Oh no, Michael with technical issues again. Okay. I I see Caroline in the chat. I guess Michael can't hear right now. He might have to abandon that mic. But Caroline, I think you need to go back. I'm not going to go into rage mode. I went into rage mode like a couple months ago about the Superman movie. Watch our go back and watch our episode when we did with Michael's sisters. I forget what their show is called. Go back and watch that episode. I kind of went into like full on like nuclear mode about Superman. But this new Superman made me feel so sick that I will say this. The new Superman movie, I kid you not, I was in tears at the end. I sat there in the final 2 minutes of the movie, and I was crying. That is not a joke. I was that upset because they took something that was so amazing and so godly and literally did a 180 and did a total perversion of what we expected, Superman to be there. Michael, what's going on over there? Can you hear us? I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. Can anyone hear what Michael has? Can people hear the same thing that I can? Just curious. So it looks like Michael's going to reboot his system and go in and go out, I guess, real quick. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It sounds like he needs a new mic, but I'll carry this for a few minutes. Yeah, Caroline, I disliked everything. I disliked everything about the movie. Honestly, there wasn't one thing about it that I liked. It was disgusting. It was despicable. I hated it. I hated myself for watching it. And I didn't even spend a dime on it. Caroline, did you and Michael go and see this movie together? I'm just curious if he saw the game too, or saw the movie too.
No, she watched it with her kids last night at the house. I was not there. I heard about it. I heard it wasn't overly impressive, but I have not seen it yet.
Okay. Michael, do you need a new microphone, sir?
I don't know what happened. I just had to reset and come back in. The microphone.
It's okay.
The microphone's fine, but I don't have time to set it back up again. So I'm just going through the computer here to finish up the show. But I'm glad I can get back in. Sounds like you guys were discussing movies.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it, man. I don't want to go into that dark side right now. That's more of an off-season thing. And Caroline, you have made a massive mistake spending money on that. Number one, it's on HBO Max. And then number two, I've told Michael, I'm like, you need a movie link where you can watch movies for free. Just hit me up. I'll send you a link there. I mean, again, that's what I do. I am not spending money at the theaters like that outside of a select few. That is too expensive. Yeah. Michael, you said, let's move on. I wanted to touch on Penn State a little bit. What the fuck, man? What the fuck did you see out there with Penn State, dude? By the way, they are no longer ranked. I looked at the poll today. They are not even ranked anymore, nor should they be. UCLA was one of the worst teams ever. Like, they were going to go winless. They had not led in a football game all year. They got blown out at home by New Mexico.
Yeah.
And then they win against Penn State. And not only do they win, the game shouldn't have been as close as it was. So what the fuck do you take from all of that, man?
I take it that there's some fatigue in Happy Valley about never winning the big games. I really think it is. I know that all of the past teams that, they don't have anything to do with this team, and those kids weren't on that team. I understand all that. But the weight of it, the media, the fans, the talking, Penn State never wins big games. And this has been being talked about for years. I think the weight of that is finally starting to really fall on the Penn State program because James Franklin is totally incapable of winning big games. I mean, totally incapable. What else can you say? I mean, I think that, another big game loss at home last week, traveling across the country, which we know is difficult. and it's clear this Penn State team was not ready to play. Their run defense was awful. I haven't seen a Penn State defense in years with run defense like it had the other day. Huge gaping holes, linebackers not filling, just getting knocked off, just terrible run defense. And so I put that on the $3 million man, Jim Knowles. And so, it does not look pretty. Do I think that they're a top 25 team? Yeah, I think they're probably like a 20th best team in the country. Maybe if they rebound and I think they're maybe, but they were way overranked to be talking about them being a Big Ten champ or a national championship. I don't know where they got the credibility for that talk to have ever been there anyway. I never took that serious, but I never imagined that it was going to be this bad.
No, I don't think anyone did. They're a disaster, man. But, the worrisome part with all of this is, that they're still going to play their best game in the season against Ohio State. They'll play better than they did against Oregon against us, which is kind of scary. I'm not saying they're going to beat us, but they could challenge us just because they always play their best game and their hardest game, and we're their biggest rival. And, it could look bad on Ohio State to struggle with them. And that's really all I have left to say about that. Yeah, they're a disaster. I know, some people are trying to say like James Franklin's buyout's like $50 million. And he must have multiple years left on that contract. But they're saying that he should be looking around at other places, because he can't take it there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. What else you got?
Do you think Miami is the number one team in the country, the Hurricanes? Yeah. Because, it goes into that, we know that ESPN is in bed with the SEC, but they're also kind of in bed with the ACC a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
So do you think, everywhere all over the radio today is saying Miami's the best.
They have far more of a vested interest in the ACC than they do the Big Ten. Because they are in bed with the ACC. You're right. So no, I do not believe Miami is better. I believe that Miami has shown this through the first half of the season many times over the last 20 years. Some of those times they've ended up being pretty good at the end of the year. Other times they've completely collapsed. And so, no, I'm not going to buy Miami right now over Ohio State. I think Ohio State would absolutely beat Miami if they played right now. And I believe Ohio State would beat Miami if they meet them in the playoffs. And I hope they do, because they've been whining for years, and I'd love to go ahead and give them another loss and send them whining for the next however many years.
Do you know where the national championship is played this year?
Is it in Miami?
It's in Miami.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it works out pretty well for them if they were to make it there.
Yeah, it does.
I know that'd be a tough place to win, considering that's their home field.
Right. That would be tough.
Yeah. So, Michael, I am not trying to be in a bad mood. Mm-hmm. But we both know what happened this past week.
Yeah.
We both know that you have a faded shirt of said team.
Oh, yeah. That.
Michael,
I didn't know what you were about to go into. The Cincinnati Reds.
I am not trying to rage. The only team in that divisional series to get swept was the Cincinnati Reds. But not only were we swept, Michael, but they were not overly competitive. I feel, Michael, you know what? God, I feel so disgusted and dirty for even considering to go to a game this year, Michael. Mm-hmm. In spending money on this team. Like, I will not ever attend a game until this franchise wins a playoff series. I don't care if we have 95 fucking wins. They have got to win a playoff series, not a game, an entire series. Yeah. I am not going to spend my money on this absolutely filthy, disgusting dumpster fire. Fuck them. Fuck them. That was disgusting. That was disgusting, Michael. That was I don't know what to fucking say anymore. I don't know what to say anymore. Hunter Green is a fraud. I wouldn't mind if the Reds shopped him for some quality bats. When you're starting pitching, by the way, we never really gave much thought to the starting pitching. Everyone just said, oh, they're World Series caliber. Hunter Green is an ace. Hunter Green is not an ace. When you're starting pitching to start a series as Hunter Green and Zach Littell, your starting pitching might actually not be very good, Michael. It's solid, but it appears the Reds starting pitching is some fool's gold and not a true set of World Series, winning pitchers there. Let's start there, man. What are your thoughts on the Reds? I know you have some deep thoughts. We don't have to go like full on Reds here. Again, our season is over. I feel like we need to do a recap here. They disgust me. They're disgusting. Honestly, I think they should move from Cincinnati. They've become so bad. They are the longest team in professional sports to have not won a playoff series or playoff game, but in this case, it's a series. There has been 30 going on 31 years, which is the longest of the 4 or 5 major sports, however you want to count the major sports. I don't know what to say. I don't.
Yeah. Well, to kind of ballpark it, or bottom line it, there's a lot of things I could say, but I think that, if a team is not willing to, number one, if you're willing to spend $175 million a year, you might have a chance to draft well, get some of the cheaper pieces in place, and go out and make some strategic signs and get that quality starting pitcher that can compete in a playoff game. Get that one hitter that you need. And I know that's going to cost 60, 70 million a year. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you've got to spend 175, 180 million. Or maybe you spend that same 80 million spread out a little bit more than that. And, don't just get two big players, get 3 or 4 players, one of them being a reliever or something, one of them being a quality closer for 10 or $11 million a year. But they don't do that. They don't do the extra. It's hard to spend $119 million, and it's hard to draft so well with $119 million payroll that you're going to go travel to a team that's spending $360 million. I mean, and it looked like a totally different class of baseball for the most part. The Dodgers looked like a completely different class from the Reds. And so that's why it felt so demoralizing and embarrassing to watch. But I understand why, because again, the Reds payroll is under $120 million and the Dodgers payroll is well north of 300. And it's just, it's not fair, but the Reds could fight back by doing a great job drafting and signing some key signs and actually putting some money in some guys instead of just trying to piece together a lineup with, the cheapest guys you can find that can produce. And this is what you get. We're going to draft pitchers and we're going to piece together a cheap lineup. We're not going to go get those final couple of pieces to actually be able to compete. And until they do that, it's just going to be more of this. There's probably not going to get a whole lot better.
It's almost as bad as it's a comparison between Ohio State and Minnesota. They're miles apart. It's kind of similar to the Reds and Dodgers. The Dodgers put the ball in play. It just felt like when they absolutely have to, they throw strikes when they absolutely need them. The Reds don't. The Reds just simply don't. The Reds really only threatened to score or, especially in the first game from the Dodgers, fucking up and committing errors or walking people. The Reds only had 6 hits to the Dodgers 13 in game 1. That score should have been worse. Game 2, I feel like the Reds played a little bit better, but not much better. And Michael, I have not been impressed with Terry Francona, man. I think he's overrated as a manager historically. He manages the Reds like he has Red Sox level talent when he does not. I think he's a little better than David Bell. I think you and I both agree on that, but not much better. He's cost the Reds some games this season and, this past season with awful in-game roster management. And to add on, the Dodgers look like they just had fun out there playing baseball, whereas the Reds really don't appear to be having any fun. Most likely because they know they don't have a chance. And as a team, they really, really fucking suck. And to be honest, Michael, I don't know what the front office really wants from this team. They say they want defense, but the team is collectively bad at defense. They want World Series starting level pitching, but this series proved it's average to below average. They hired a manager who they thought would greatly improve them, and really, he didn't improve them at all. So I don't fucking know anymore. I mean, the only thing I can say is I think they need to move out of Cincinnati and into an area that can spend more money, because they're just never going to win in Cincinnati anymore, man. I don't see it. It's upsetting. It's disturbing. It's disgusting. It makes me want to throw up. I can't take it anymore, man. Outside of Ohio State football, all I know is failure. All I know is fucking failure from my teams. Michael, you can relate. Look at the Bengals today for you, man.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at the fucking Bengals.
You know what? I'm not a gambler, but I put $50 on the Lions +9 because I thought that was a pretty good bet, and it worked out. It was a little risky there at the end. So they won me $47 today. Being terrible. So I'm pretty happy with the Bengals, to be honest with you. But
you're happy. Your wallet's happy, but you're not happy about like the state of the franchise.
No, but I want them to lose every game. I wanted
the Titans to lose every game, and I check my phone and I see they won. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
This is a disgrace of a roster that they've put together, and it's all on Mike Brown and his leadership. It is a disgrace.
I know, like they upset you more than the Reds do. You're like, oh, the Reds are what they are, but the Bengals,
they have become the worst team in the NFL because they are disgraceful and they're stupid, and I can't take it anymore.
Have they won 2 games though? They've won 2 games, right?
Yes, they have. What do you think about where do you think Ellie will be in a year, Jay? Please answer.
I mean, he's going to be with the Reds. He's tied to the Reds for the next couple of years.
He's going to continue to improve and become a real superstar. Let's frame her question that way.
No, hell no. No, I think he's lazy. I think he is an athlete trying to play baseball. I think he should be moved to center field. He is not an infielder. I think he is. He's not clutch. He can't hit for shit right-handed. He really doesn't hit much better left-handed, but hits a little better left-handed. He is the most overrated player in baseball. I think he's a clown. But here's the thing. I feel like he was done, kind of similar to Arch Manning in college football. He was anointed like the next great one, and for reasons unknown, just because. I don't know. I think that pressure put on him, if he were just like a regular guy coming up from the minor leagues, we wouldn't be looking at him with such vitriol. But the fact of the matter is, he was, and we are. I mean, he sucks. I mean, like, his name is not Ellie De La Cruz. It's Ellie De La Suck. I said that. I'm like, that is his new name, Ellie De La Suck. Change your jerseys from De La Cruz to De La Suck. He sucks. He strikes out. He commits errors. He doesn't hit in the clutch. He's no good. He is no fucking good. And I said it from day one. I called it a couple of years ago. I wasn't impressed with him.
He's not stealing a crazy amount of bases anymore either.
Well, I will say this, though. He should be getting like 10 to 15 games off a year. He played every game, which is also stupid by Francona. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. He's really young, but I mean, you need 5 to 7 days a year off typically. I mean, to give yourself a little recovery here and there.
It was ridiculous for him to play every day. It was ridiculous.
Phillies blew it. Had a 3-0 lead. I know. I'm rooting for the Phillies too. I don't like the Dodgers.
I'm not trying to give the Reds any benefit of the doubt here. Not at all. They don't deserve any. but they absolutely did play the best team in the divisional series and maybe the best team in all of baseball.
Yeah.
It's like if we would have played the Tigers or somebody, I mean, we could have maybe won a game. You weren't winning a game against the Dodgers. To close out on another note, there's something that actually disgusted me, Michael, before we get out of here. Are you aware of the Pat McAfee on College Game Day? He does like a kick for like scholarship money or something. He like pays like, he basically pays the kids way through school type thing. I don't really know all the details about it, but are you aware of that situation?
No.
Okay, well, yeah, he I don't know how he selects these kids. I don't know. They must enter in and they get a chance at like a field goal. They set up for a field goal, right? To like kick it from like, I don't know, 25 yards away. And, some kids make it, but most of them don't. And, he's never paid until now, but he did something different this time. And I didn't catch it because I honestly don't really watch Game Day. I think Game Day sucks as a show.
He pays when he only pays when you make it. So what you're saying?
Yeah. He only pays when you make it, but something was different this time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I didn't catch this because I watch Game Day for usually the first 20 minutes and then the final 20 minutes, and everything in between is just terrible television. But so this girl gets up there, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how she gets selected. They're cheering her on. She kicks and she doesn't even come close. I don't even think the ball, I'm not sure that the ball actually like leaves the ground. It just rolls. Three yards. It was, it's like they knew that she wasn't going to make it.
It's as bad as you can do, basically.
Yeah. I think my 3-year-old son would have done better, and that's not a joke.
Okay.
Be that as it may. Pat McAfee then said, hey, whatever your name is, I tell you what, if Kirk Herbstreit is just able to throw the football through the uprights, you win. And it was not only will she win, it was the most money ever given out by him.
Which was how much?
I think it might have been like $300,000. I don't know. Don't quote me on it, man. I don't know. I don't know how much it was. It was a lot of money. But do you know what this girl's like? You know what she looked like?
What?
She was a fat black girl. Some fat black girl. So this is where my mind goes, considering this is ESPN. Was this DEI? Was this a big fuck you to the rest of the people who kicked and failed? Which, by the way, they didn't get any money. Do you have to be fat? Do you have to be female? Do you have to be black? To be honest, I know in the moment it seems like a good thing, but it's really not, man. I thought that was disgusting and despicable by Pat McAfee. That was awful.
How unfair for a fat black guy who missed it, or a fat white guy who missed it.
I mean, like, what is going on here?
I agree with you. That is ridiculous to change the rules. They weren't able to compete in that particular setting. If you want to do something charitable for somebody on your own time, then feel free. Do all you want.
Affirmative action. That's where it kind of goes, man. I'm sick of people just being handed stuff for not earning it. And that's where my mind especially goes with something being broadcast by a communist network like ESPN. That just drove me crazy, man. I was disgusted by that entire thing. I thought that was despicable by Pat McAfee. I did not think that was the right thing to do. If she's not good enough to kick, then don't fucking put her up there and embarrass herself. Find somebody else. I don't know how it works, but again, at least she got the opportunity. That's on her if she's not good to make it. But to just hand out money just because, we don't know, but you can suspect highly.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it seems like it was probably a setup from the beginning. If they had decided to do that, they had just planned it. This is how we were going to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't think it sends a great message to young people. I really don't. I think that It sends a bad message to all the people that didn't get rewarded for who probably trained and, tried and, maybe just didn't make it. So yeah, I'm with you, Jay. I'm not in agreement with it, but hey, it's ESPN. It's ESPN. That's what they do.
It really fucks up the previous participants. Like any, straight white male should be careful about doing this ever again. Hell, I would ask for the money anyway, like this girl just got. I would be like, hey, Pat, if I miss it, are you still going to give me the money like you did this other girl? And if the answer is no, I wouldn't kick. I'd be like, fuck you. You fucking sellout, bitch.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Pat, motherfucker. See, again, I'm pissed off now. But again, like that just rubs me the wrong way. And if he just starts doing the same thing over and over again, he's got to even it out though. He's got to do that for men, for thin men, for white men, white women, honestly, even it out some. If you're going to pull
once you start that game, Jay, like if you're going to be fair, you need to do it for everybody. You need to find it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mexican female. You need to, if you start that game, and that's why it's a ridiculous game. I think things are getting better in that regard, but clearly there's still some holding on to, some of this, non-merit based type of thing that became so popular in America for so many years. And I'm all for helping people that truly need help. But, I'm not for just, choosing some people selectively and when they're not deserving and playing by the rules that everybody else had to play for. So that's my stance on it. Jay, you got anything else tonight?
Caroline says I would get nothing even if I made the kick. I just saw that in the comments, man.
That you would get nothing?
That's what she said.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So how far?
I would ankle lock him. I would ankle lock the shit out of him.
How far is the kick, by the way?
Like I said, 20 to 25 yards.
20 to 25 yards. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not super far, but
if you and I got selected for it, we would have a good chance to train for it and go out there.
Yeah, I think I would make it. Make it if I trained. I'd have to train. I'd never really kicked before, but I think I could figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Illinois this week, man. Illinois is slow. I don't think they're very good. I've watched them against Duke. I didn't watch them against Indiana, but I did see them against Duke. They're not very fast. Their best receiver is a small white guy. Do you have a score prediction on this game, man? I know a lot of people have thought this is like upset alert time right now for Ohio State. I particularly don't see it.
I do have a score. My score is Ohio State 31, Illinois 7.
Yeah, I can't say you're wrong there. I'm going to go Ohio State 34, Illinois, I don't know. Let's just say 16. Let's just say 16 because Champaign is a weird place to play, and we don't know if it's going to be windy and this and the other. So I don't know. I'd try and err. I'm not going to predict a total blowout on their home field and all of that stuff, but I think we're going to beat them decisively. They're not very good. I know their record and their ranking says they're pretty good, but they're not very good. They're about the same team as Duke. And I know that the score says Illinois blew Duke out, but they really didn't. Like Duke outplayed them for stretches of that game. They just turned the ball over, and Duke's not very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. All right. Thank you guys for watching. It was a long one tonight.
Had a lot to go over.
We will be back to talk about Illinois game next week. Hopefully it'll be all good, positive news. All right. We'll see you then. Bye.